I think it's a pretty simple system what I do. I just try to keep it in 2 boxes, one for all my supplies, and then I have a box full of glass, my big old purple box of glass. And so whenever I'm getting ready, I make sure all the glass is clean, and I ask my friend for a ride to the show. If the band can't give me a ride, I don't have a car, otherwise I would drive. And then we get to the show, and my friends help me unpack, and I drag a table from somewhere. Sometimes I have to ask and get one from a back closet or something, but we get a table set up either to the left or right, because if you go straight ahead, the audience will be blocking it from the band, and unless I had more projectors, I couldn't utilize it yet, so.
What's that?
Does the drummer need any guitar? Probably not.
I'll take a little.
Usually my preference is the left side of the stage. Don't know why, it just turned out that way, so. Basically, this sort of started last summer, or this previous summer, I guess. And I got a digital projector online for $60 off of eBay, and I just sort of played around with these crystals in front of it and had a lot of fun. And then I wanted to see what an overhead projector could do as far as live animations. So I just kind of shopped around online till I found like this cheap little overhead projector I could use. Got it in the mail and then just started. I had a plastic box with rock salt and ink. It was really muddy, but there was something so crazy and interesting about it. I couldn't resist playing with it. And then once the school year started, there was a bunch of free glass up here actually. And I just got a big box of glass to play with, so I'm like, why don't I try seeing what happens if I do a kind of, I don't know, I feel like this is very biological, microscope playing under slides. But I started with watercolor, and it was just the pigment of the watercolor stopped the light from shining through. And so it became really muted and it didn't match what you were seeing on the glass. And with the food coloring I'm now using, it's like pretty much a dead-on transition. Just love some of the shapes that happen. And I always love that kind of uncontrollable, always watchable quality. And then when I love pulling up the glass because you get these moments like right here where it just almost create like flowers, or at least like crazy little patterns. I think with this sort of experimentation, it's not going to be, I'll never know exactly what it's going to do. I can just sort of learn what it does and hope it'll do it again. When I was a kid, there was this big sort of open field behind where I lived. And I would just go there after school on my way home because it'd be like right next to my apartment. And then one day I don't know, for a while I just started to focus on the sky and laying back and watching the clouds. And I remember one time it had been a hard day at school and I was frustrated. And I had my music player on and I didn't want to go home. I was just pissed off or something. I can't remember what over. It's just one of those middle school, high school random things that means something at the time but doesn't later. And so I just stared at the clouds, I think for pretty sure it was 2 hours. My mom came and looked for me during this time, so I knew it was a long, long while, but I swear though, I was listening to my music and just looking up, and at one point I was just feeling the earth, just the movement of earth rotating, and seeing the clouds sort of miss that notch. And I was just looking at all the patterns and formations, and I was just so stuck in the moment and overwhelmed by the feeling of being present in this vast cosmos. That when I got home, all I could think about was making art that looked like that or felt like that. I'm just so interested in the natural movement of objects rather than just picking a controlling element about it. My mom was pissed though that I was just sitting in the field behind our house for 2 hours though. She was like, "You could have told me at least." My favorite thing about doing all of these shows and interacting with bands and different collaborators from different fields is just the live entertainment portion and all the sort of crazy stuff that can go on with live animation. As a normal animator, you're stuck in a studio, kind of just working by yourself, playing off yourself, and you show your finished product or brief concepts, but no one will ever. They see the final thing, and that's all they see. When I do these live shows, I love being able to just experience fresh with the audience what I'm doing, as opposed to already knowing it.
I believe that's it for us. Am I right? Am I wrong? Am I right? Am I wrong?
One more song! One more song!
And it's just pretty, so. Woo.